Hello everyone, Eb here with Tech Motorsports, and let's get started with episode 6, which is going to be the rod bearings and the final assembly of the engine and transmission. So let's get going with that, but there is one thing I do want to add is, again, had a little bit of an audio issue, so bear with me, and apologies. I already got torque seal on my ARP bolts. Okay, so these are 70 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. I'll turn it on. And I already set at 70 foot-pounds. So I'm going to try to cinch them up real quick to get them both even. There we go. So now I will start my torque. And I can see this line is going to be in my way. $70 foot-pounds. And there we go. So that's going to, of course, flatten the plastic gauge in there, give us a reading and see where we're going to be at. So let's go ahead and remove it. And there we go. And we have a reading on this journal number 6. It is at 0.051, and that is meters, 0.051. So we're right in the middle of the spec. So that's good. So the thing to clean them off is you could end up using a rag. And sometimes what I end up doing is throw a little bit of a brake cleaner on there. I'm going to use this rag. And she's gone. And the same thing with the bearing. There's little remnants left on that one. And there we go. So now it's we're good with that one. So now it's lube time. I do the journal and I do the bearing itself. And with this stuff, I just apply it. I'm not being stingy with it. So I put the bolt that I did on one side of the engine, and the other side I'm going to put these back in the same spot. So, oh, gotta turn it on. So what I try to do is I look around trying to get 5 foot-pounds on it originally, just to get it nice and snug. And then I finalize my full torque. There we go. Cylinder number 6 done. Now we're going to jump on cylinder number 1. And let's start with the process. So I got my cap. Now also, when you do check the clearance on this, it's a good idea to try to get just most of the oil off, because you want to really get a nice good clamp. You don't want the oil being in the way and kind of giving you a different reading because it's an oily surface. So now that I got those clean in that, and my bearing is right here. Cleaning the back side, just so gently. All right, got the cap on, and I already put the torque sealant, the torque juice in place. So this one is within the 0.038, and it's just a tad bit bigger than a 0.051. So that is also, this one's in spec. So as you can see, the process is just going back and forth, tightening, loosening, cleaning, and then checking the tolerance. So so far so good. Cylinder number 1, cylinder number 1, cylinder number 6 seem to be going over well. Like I stated before, you want to make sure and you want to take a look at each journal when you do this to see if there's any scoring, anything of that sort. And you know, if there is anything, that's where you kind of need to figure out if you need to take it apart. And at that point, if you want to get a rebuild, or if you just want to roll the dice, like I've seen a handful of people do, and just put it back together. But we're not in that case, so we're going to go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of them done. All right, I got everything all done, everything passed. So none of the journals had any scoring, there was no damage at all. And then the bearing shells, the actual bearings themselves, number 3 was a little bit more worse than the rest of them, but it still was intact. There was no issue. I really looked at journal number 3, everything looked good. But when I went to do my gauging with the plastic gauge, I did find that journal number 3 and journal number 1 were off from the rest of them. So number 3 was tighter, while number 1 was just a tad bit looser compared to the rest of the 4. So what I ended up doing is I swapped bearing shells from 1 to 3 and 3 to 1, and now I have all of them identical. What I mean identical is they all fell between 0.038 between 0.051. They were right in the realm to where it was a little bit smaller than the actual spread of the plastic gauge was smaller than 0.038, and it was bigger than 0.051. So now once I swap bearing shells around, I have them pretty much all right there. They're all in between those 2 numbers. So yeah, so I already went ahead and cleaned the crank already. I went ahead and used the razor blade to get most of the gunk off of it, and then I ended up using my my Brillo pad to clean up the remaining mess. And now I'm just going to install the oil pump and the little other areas and clean the oil pan, and then start putting it together. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dab a little bit of RTV on these corners, right where these 2 with the front cover and the block meet, and the same thing with the back side. Now it's time for the gasket. And where is my little, there's my oil. Okay, so pretty much got this side done. The only thing I have to do is install the headers, which I'm going to do after I put the transmission and get all that done. That way it's not getting in my way when I install the transmission. So I'm going to head and do that. So the next step is I'm going to go around, make sure I haven't left anything out of the ordinary that I need to replace or anything of that sort. So I'm going to go look at my stash, and then I'm going to break out my cherry picker and get the engine off the engine stand. So okay, so engine's off the engine stand, and now I'm just starting to put everything back together. So I've already replaced the rear main seal, so that's already on. So now I'm going to take the pilot bearing out for the train. Ta-da! Okay, so now it's flywheel time. And also put Loctite on these bolts. All right, so the flywheel bolts are 77 foot-pounds of torque, and then the pressure plate to the flywheel are 25. So I'm going to go ahead and get the torque in, 77 foot-pounds, and I'm going to be doing crisscross pattern. All right, picking up where I left off yesterday. I had to stop, so I didn't get to finish the clutch like I was hoping for. But yeah, so what we got is the clutch disc. Unfortunately, they're not nice enough, the company, to tell you which side goes where. If you could look, which guys goes where, if it goes that. But I was able to find it, and this section here, the thicker side, goes into the flywheel on this one. All right, so I already got Loctite on my bolts. $20 foot-pounds, 25 foot-pounds, I apologize. Okay, that pretty much covers that. This is all done. Just got to put my plate on the back and start installing the transmission. All right, so I'm pretty much situated to get this thing bolted on. I do have the shaft and all that's already lubed up. The throw bearing is already in. Everything's attached there, so let's keep plugging away at it. Okay, so now she's bolted in. So what I'm gonna go do is put the rest of the bolts all the way around the 10 miller that's here, attached to starter, and finish this all up. And then what I'll do at that point, I'll put my my pan and I'll clean the transmission a little bit more. I didn't want to have to. I can't put this whole thing in my parts washer. So yeah, I'm gonna keep plugging away. Okay, not quite as brand new as it used to be, but way better than it was when I first started. Just grease build up and everything. So yeah, she should be looking a little bit nicer. And so I am going to pretty much put this on a side on some dollies, because now what the next part will be starting to remove the engine off of this one. So yeah, let me see what's next. Okay, before I consider this completely done, I put one of my E36 shift boots on, or shifter on, just to do a dry run on the transmission. So I got it all kind of just in there, just make sure everything is working correctly. So I got my neutral, reverse, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, back to neutral. Sweet. Yeah, so that means everything that was done internally, everything seems to be going good. I didn't bind anything up, so yeah, sweet. So now I want to keep plugging away at it. All right, guys, this will conclude this episode. Now that the ride bearings are done and the engine is now assembled with the transmission, I'm going to be setting that thing aside. And there's still a few items I need to put on it, like the headers and a couple other stuff around, which I will wait to do once I get ready to drop the drivetrain inside the wagon. So yes, that would be our next thing coming up. Through this whole process, we'll be removing the engine from the Touring. So let's get that going here soon. And like always, like and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next episode.